Bhagavate Vaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Harihi Om Tat Sat. So Hare Krishna devotees, my apologies for the initial whatever sound issues there. So today's chapter for discussion I was given is chapter 13, which is called The Appearance of Lord Varaha. This is in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this has 50 verses. So today we will discuss the first 25 verses. So now let me read the first one in Sanskrit. The rest of the 24 verses we will read the English translation. Shri Suta Uvacha Nishamaya Vacham Vatato Munehe Punyatamam Nrupa Bhuyaha Papracha Kauravyo Vasudeva Katadritaha Vasudeva Katadritaha. Translation. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, after hearing all these most virtuous topics from the sage Maitreya, Vidura inquired further on the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which he adores to hear. So the previous chapter, as you would have all relished, is the chapter on the creation. Part of the many creations were coming up, and in that the last chapter was entitled Creation of the Kumaras and Others. So now we this is basically the discussion which is happening between Vidura, Mahatma Vidura and Maitreya Muni. So this discussion is happening in the larger context of discussion in the Naimisharanya between Sutta Goswami and the Rishis, where Sutta Goswami is explaining everything to the Rishis, and in that this discussion is coming. And of course, we all know Sutta Goswami also was repeating what he heard from his spiritual master in another place. So this is all in the parampara process, and it is coming in. And here this scene which Sutta Goswami is explaining to Naimisharanya, the devotees in Naimisharanya, is that of the appearance of Varahadev. So let's understand it in that context to give you a very high level background. So this here the important thing that has been highlighted by Srila Prabhupada is the word Adritaha. That means one who adores, one who so adores. That is the translation given. And Prabhupada is highlighting this in his purport, that to highlight that Vidura, he keeps on asking so many questions, and questions means he wants to know more and more about the Lord. So that he adores the Lord so much that he is so eager to listen to the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He asked about the creation, which is also not okay. It is not a specific direct pastime of the Lord. But he is very eager to understand how the creation happened, which is basically the secondary creation, which Lord Brahma does. But it is still important to know, because everything is connected to the Lord. That is very important, and we should always have this in mind when we read Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, this is not directly about Krishna, so let's skip this process. No, that is not what should be done. The next one, Vidura said, "Oh, great sage, what did Swayambhuva, the dear son of Brahma, do after obtaining his very loving wife?" So Prabhupada has not given any commentary on that. So let's move forward. Oh, best of the virtuous, the original king of kings, Manu. Original king of kings referred to as here is Manu, was a great devotee of the personality of Godhead Hari, and thus it is worth hearing of the sublime creatures and sublime character and activities. Please describe them. I am very eager to hear. So this is the words of Vidura. So he's saying, like, this is about the appearance of Manu, Manu Swayambhuva Manu, who's the son of Lord Brahma. So their Kumaras, they were created, and then the next in that line he had to create, because the Kumaras sort of took up sannyas right from their very young age, and then they left home. So Lord Brahma had to create the Manu. Of course, not because that is there, but it's one of the reasons you can say. So then Manu, because Lord Brahma's uh, uh, objective is to actually create so many living entities, and he wanted a progeny who can actually go and increase the progeny in the material world. And for that he wanted another son, and therefore this Manu came into being. And then here Vidura is specifically saying that it is great to hear about the activities of the Lord. That is the mode. So Srimad Bhagavatam not only about directly about the activities of only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but it has got the activities of many pure devotees of the Lord. And it is non-different to hear about the pure devotees of the Lord, where they are basically extensions of the Supreme Lord in one sense, and therefore their activities are as glorious as that of the Lord. And in fact, there is another verse where Prabhupada is actually also saying that it is even more important than hearing about the Lord to hear about the devotees of the Lord. Like there is also this verse where Lord Shiva is telling Parvati, Aradhanam Sarveshu Vishnu Aradhanam Param. He's saying, so for all the worship of the worship of Lord Vishnu is the top. Param means is the top. But then next line he says, better than worship of Lord Vishnu is the worship of his devotees. What is that thing? It says, Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. So Tasmat Parataram. Better than that worship of Lord Vishnu is Tadiyanam. That means his devotees. And that is even topmost. So that is important. And here Mahatma Vidura is actually exhibiting that. He is eager to hear about Manu, not just about Lord Krishna. So that is important. The next verse. Persons who hear from the spiritual master with great labor and for a long time must hear from the mouth of pure devotees about the characters and activities of pure devotees. Pure devotees always think within their heart of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, who awards his devotees liberation. So this is actually, I have spoken about this purport even in the earlier one, where the Lord is, the understanding is the pure devotee are an extension of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because they are always in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their thoughts are always evolving around the Lord, and their heart is full of the lotus feet of the Lord. So therefore, what is the difference? There is no breakage here, right? You are connected to the Lord because this devotee is completely 24/7 immersed in the in the thoughts of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and touching him. Touching means not physically, but getting in connection with such pure devotees. We are direct, that mercy of the Lord, that the influence of the Lord is directly flowing from his heart into the heart of the devotee. Therefore, there is no distinction. And as I said in the previous verse, that it is better even to more auspicious to worship and hear the pure devotees than even the Lord. I mean, that this is the word of Lord Shiva himself. So for us, therefore, these are very simple tricks actually. If you really want to progress in devotional life, sometimes we are superficial. I will, Krishna, Radha, all that is fine. But if we really want to progress in devotional life, we should get hold of the lotus feet of the Acharya. That is the knack. If you are able to be very chaste to Srila Prabhupada, like I am talking in our parampara, Srila Prabhupada, and of course, the Guru Parampara before Srila Prabhupada, and of course, our spiritual masters. If we are able to hold their leg and be very chaste to them, how many of us would have heard all Prabhupada's classes? Or at least, before we finish Prabhupada class, I don't want to go anywhere, read any other books, any other. That mood is very difficult to get. But that chastity, Prabhupada, if you are holding on to him, Krishna is absolutely pleased. That's it, It's not about, oh, that Sampradaya, they are giving very, very great kathas, but here Prabhupada has not written many kathas. Prabhupada has written, but we have not read. But irrespective, it's not about, oh, I want to get this flavor, that flavor. No. Whatever Prabhupada has given flavor, that is enough for 100 million lifetimes. So if you are able to get that mood and, mm, be serious in Krishna consciousness in our parampara, we can go back. This is all some things that we derive from Srimad Bhagavatam from great personalities like Vidura. Now, the next one. He uses the word, right? Worship of the devotee is more potent than worship of the Lord. It is therefore the duty of the transcendental student to hear of pure devotees, not only from pure devotees, as explained by similar devotees of the Lord. Because one cannot explain about the Lord or his devotees unless one happens to be a pure devotee himself. So that is important. So then, next verse, 5th verse. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna was pleased to place his lotus feet on the lap of Vidura because Vidura was very meek and gentle. The sage Maitreya was very pleased with Vidura's words, and being influenced by the spirit, he attempted to speak. So this is not only the spiritual master is glorious, the disciple is also very glorious. So here Vidura, Maitreya Muni, while he is thinking of explaining to Vidura, he is thinking what a great personality this person is. In his lap, the word here is, in the Sanskrit, it comes Sahasra Shishnaha. Sahasra Shishnaha is word is used to represent Krishna, to call Krishna, to indicate Krishna, that this Sahasra Shishnaha, he actually put his lotus feet on the thighs, on the lap of Vidura. So we all know many a times Krishna would go to Mahatma Vidura's house and they will have nice exchanges. He will nicely serve, Vidura will nicely serve. And then Krishna, after having prasadam, or rather bhoga, he will lie down, right? He would lie down, and while he's taking rest, the lotus feet of the Lord will be placed on Vidura's lap, and maybe he may be massaging, just like Lakshmi Devi is massaging the Lord's feet. Like this, he will be doing this. And this Maitreya Muni is remembering. So he's not thinking, oh, this is an ordinary man, who's become my disciple. No, he knows he's such a great personality, and thinking of that, he is getting inspiration. Wow, I am going to be speaking about this, and I am enthused to speak to this great devotee. Like this, he's thinking, and then he's going to narrate the further pastimes of, in this case, the appearance of Varaha. The sage Maitreya said to Vidura, after his appearance, Manu, the father of mankind, along with his wife, thus addressed the reservoir of Vedic wisdom, Brahma, with obeisances and folded hands. So here, Manu is the son of Brahma, we discussed, and how he is approaching his father. And the objective given here is about Lord Brahma is thus addressed the reservoir of Vedic wisdom. So Brahma is the most intelligent personality ever in the universe. Of all the created beings, if there is one person you can call is the most intelligent, that is Lord Brahma. Nobody else is more intelligent than Lord Brahma. So that glorification has been given, and how Manu approached his father is discussed, and we will read next about that relationship between father and the son, how it has to be. Then he is continuing. You are the father of all living entities and the source of their sustenance, subsistence, because they are all born of you. Please order us how we may be able to render service unto you. So this is the mood of Manu. So he himself, where if you saw in the earlier verses, Brahmaji is describing Manu as king of kings. So he's a king of kings. That means the Chakravarti, or the emperor, or whatever you call. But how he is addressing that emperor is addressing Brahma as like, you are the source of all the creation. You are the father of all of us. So you please instruct us, give us the opportunity to serve you. Please tell us what we should do. There, Prabhupada is talking about the duty of a son. So Prabhupada is saying, a son's duty is not only to make the father the source of supply for all his needs. That means that when a son is there, the son is to be taken care by the father in the initial ages. So it is mentioned here, it says, so that is there. But then once the son reaches that age where he is independent, like here, once he goes past that learning stages of his life, then he should actually be completely taking care and serving his father. That is being mentioned by Prabhupada. He says, a father's duty is to bring up the son until he is grown. And when the son is grown up, it is his duty to render service unto his father. So actually, if you see, it is the son will be 18 or 20. In 18 or 20 years, the father's thing gets over. But the father may live up to 70 years of the son. That means 50 years. So here, I don't know who is the father or who is the son, because the son has to take care of the father for 50 years, while the father has actually taken care of the son for only 20 years. We see this practically in many cases. I have seen one example of one father who was touched 100, and the son is almost 80 plus 80 around that. And then, we're having nice exchange, and that son is taking care of the father at his 100th year. And he himself is 80-year-old, right? This is so nice. This I saw in one family. I saw one video. Of course, that was a very materialistic video. But still, that if you look at it from a Vedic point of view, how nicely that relationship was there, that has been explained. Then continuation. Oh, wonderful one, please give us your direction for the execution of duty within our working capacity so that we can follow it for fame in this life and progress in the next. This is very important. So if you have to achieve something in our life, how do we get that? So now here, Prabhupada is talking about taking the instructions in the parampara process. Like if you are simply following the instructions of the superior authority or the family tree of whatever is the two aspects. One is the biological one is the spiritual one. If the biological can also be the spiritual one, if that family lineage is a great devotee lineage, right? Then both are actually synonymous, both the biological and the spiritual lineage. But the fact remains, even from a Varnashrama point of view, that means without having Daivi Varnashrama, but simple Varnashrama also, those things elevate. Like, if one is actually very following their father's footsteps in, the nice things, not that some things there, my grandfather, they had some negative qualities, that you leave it. But to imbibe the good qualities from the parampara, that biological parampara, is something which is very much appreciated in the material aspect. That also helps one to become very refined in life. So that is one side of it. But here Prabhupada is talking about the disciplic succession. So he's talking, Brahma, then, he's giving the entire parampara. I may read it once for everybody's pleasure. So he's saying, the disciplic succession from Brahma is called Brahma Sampradaya, and it descends as follows. Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, Madhva Muni, Padmanabha, Narahari, Madhava, Akshobhya, Jayatirtha, Nana Sindhu, Dayanidhi, Vidyanidhi, Rajendra, Jayadharma, Purushottama, Brahmanya Tirtha, Vyasa Tirtha, Lakshmipati, Madhavendra Puri, from where now we will, our more specific, which we are aware of, Madhavendra Puri, then and Sri Rupa Goswami and others, Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri, then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swarupa Damodar, and Sri Rupa Goswami and others, Sri Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, Krishna Dasa Goswami, Narottama Dasa Thakura, Viswanatha Chakravarti, Jagannatha Dasa Babaji, Bhakti Vinoda Thakura, Gaura Kishora Dasa Babaji, Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami. So Prabhupada is giving the lineage, and sometimes you are seeing others, right? That means from that lineage, many other lineages like will start. Prabhupada is a disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. There are also other disciples of Prabhupada. So there will be different lineages, like, the uncles, right? Various uncles within the family. So like that, there. But all of these parampara process, Prabhupada is saying here the discussion primarily is between Brahma and Manu, who are basically that biological, and of course here it is also spiritual. And there is also Prabhupada distinguishes that from the spiritual parampara, because when we speak about this parampara, here from Brahma, it is Narada, not that the discussion like our parampara does not have Manu in that line. But here it is Brahma, then it talks about Narada Muni. So, and Vyasa, it comes down in that order. So this Prabhupada defines as the spiritual hierarchy, disciplic succession. Then the next one, Lord Brahma said, my dear son, O Lord of the world, I am very pleased with you and I desire all blessings for both you and your wife. You have without reservation surrendered yourselves unto me with your heart for my instruction. So here, it's a little bit of a background also. So Prabhupada, while writing this, is saying, he is very pleased that his son is actually coming down in a very nice manner and then, asking for his instructions and all. And Prabhupada writes, if a son has such a mood, the father has 10 times that mood. Like, if the son comes and sincerely asks like that, the father will take more interest, I believe, 10 times more interest in trying to take care of the welfare of the son. And here that relationship has been really nicely described, and it is mentioned. It's an ideal relationship of father and son. And here Brahma is also very pleased because the previous 4 sons were actually, in a material sense, if you look at it, they did not listen to their father. Because Brahma's idea, as I said earlier, was to do this creation. So he wanted help from his sons that, why don't you all marry and create progeny? Because I have an instruction from my spiritual master, which is Krishna, that, I should do this creation and I want all your help. But these 4 Kumaras, they said nothing doing. We don't want to get into this trouble of all these things. We want to be very selfish. We want to progress in our life. So they just went off. And Brahma, of course, they were very powerful personalities in their own sense and also part of Krishna's plan. So that's fine, because there was one Sampradaya which created also spiritually, which is the 4 Kumara Sampradaya, because of their going away like that. And we also see many devotees sometimes, even in our own parampara, many boys become devotees, full-time devotees. They serve nicely. But sometimes you may find some, in the family line, there may be some disturbance. They mind, oh, my son has taken a full devotional service, like that. But these things have to be carefully understood. Not that here, while in this particular context, Brahma got angry. Oh, how can he do that? And in that anger, we know Shambhu came, right? Lord Shiva. So this Brahma's angry mood actually personified into Lord Shiva. And therefore, when Lord Shiva came, he started destroying everything with that anger. So now this son is actually very obedient. Therefore, now Brahma is becoming very happy. Those sons did like this, but this son is actually very nice for me. This, understand it with everything is contextually. Don't therefore think, okay, therefore someone has left the home and dedicated themselves to the process of devotional service, they are bad, or that is not right. Here, this example from the Bhagavatam says that no. And Prabhupada writes that when they are taking up this, like, you disobey the lineage, but for a higher purpose, then that should not be considered as that they have actually, sort of disobeyed their father. So the 4 Kumaras, when they did that, we should not take it that, oh, that is not a good example, this is a good example. That is a very good example from what the purpose of life is. Because everyone at this end of the life, entire the cycle of birth and death, we need to renounce and we need to go back to Godhead. So it is that time of those jivas to actually go back. So they are coming to that point of renunciation. But we should not look at it from, okay, from my birth to death is what, I need to go through all the 4 process of, brahmacharya, grahastha, then vanaprastha. I can become sannyasi in the beginning. Of course, Kali Yuga, it is prohibited. But if you look at the journey of the soul, that person is born now, but he's already attained the sannyas stage in the previous life. So he cannot again come back to this thing. So those things are there. We should have a little bit of a deeper understanding when dealing with this, and not simply quote something in different context. Oh, Brahma was unhappy that, but when we are connected biologically, we have these emotions. But then those thinking, when we are more thinking about ourselves, that kind of thing should not be considered as a good example. When we are able to think in relation to Krishna, that should be considered as a good example. So everything take with a kind of contextually. Don't we should not take it that, oh, this is a correct example. This is how. If I have had that experience, I will think like that. But we have to think little above rather than looking at things in a very narrow sense. So that is important. So Prabhupada is actually talking about that. He says. So I read that as well. I'm not able to get that specific line where Prabhupada is saying that, not that this Kumara's thing is bad. So I will leave it at that. The next one, O hero, your example is quite befitting a son in relationship with his father. So this is Brahma himself expressing that, that how you are behaving is actually adding to the rasa of a father-son relationship. This sort of adoration of the superior is required. One who is beyond the limit of envy and who sane accept the order of his father with great delight and execute it in his full capacity. So that Prabhupada is writing. When the four pious previous sons of Brahma, the sage Sanaka, Sanatana, Sunandana and Sanat Kumara refused to obey their father, Brahma was mortified and his anger was manifested in the shape of Rudra. This incident was not forgotten by Brahma, and therefore the obedience of Manu Swayambhuva was very encouraging. And he's saying, from the material point of view, the four sages' disobedience to the order of their father was certainly abominable. From a material point of view, as I said, they disobeyed their father. That is not something, a good example from a material point of view. But because such disobedience was for a higher purpose, therefore, they were free from the reactions of disobedience. And he says, therefore, materially, we should be very obedient to the superiors. Otherwise, we will get negative reactions. So this is something we should carry. But from a spiritual point of view, if the son is actually working for a higher cause, then sometimes, they may take decisions which is against what the family wants them to do. But that's a different thing. And that is actually not disobedience. That we need to understand. Since you are my very obedient son, I ask you to beget children qualified like yourself in the womb of your wife. Rule the world in pursuance of the principles of devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus worship the Lord by performance of yajna. So this is important. Now he is giving instructions of how to actually lead a life of grahastha, but at the same time following the proper principles of devotional life. And in fact, the next few verses, he will actually give proper instructions to Swayambhuva Manu while he's saying, you engage in conjugal relationship to get children. But at the same time, he's saying that is not the purpose of your marriage. Your purpose of the marriage is actually, yes, begetting children is part of it. But beyond that, you should be able to be the proper king who will guide this entire populace, whoever is under the subject, who are the subjects of the king. His only job is to actually elevate everyone to this point of Krishna consciousness. So that is, we will see this in the many verses, a few verses that comes following this particular verse. And here Prabhupada is talking about this Varnashrama Dharma. He's saying, he's quoting from Vishnu Purana. Varnashrama Charavat Purushena Parakumam Vishnur Aradyate Panta Nanyat Tattosha Karanam. This is a very famous verse that everybody says. That means worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, following the principles of Varna and Ashrama is very principal life of the overall society organization. This is very, very important. And the entire process of the entire organization of the society is set up in a way that it can follow the process of worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You either in your Varna or in your Ashrama. That means in either as following your nature, that, based on your nature of Sattva, Tamo, or Rajo, you are either a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and your ashrama, which is what stage of your life or your consciousness, either you are a brahmachari, you are a grahastha, vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. That entire process is actually to facilitate the growth of the consciousness towards the pure devotional service. So the next verse is giving further instructions. He is saying, O king, if you can give proper protection to the living beings in the material world, that will be the best service for me. When the Supreme Lord sees you to be a good protector of the conditioned souls, certainly the master of the senses will be very pleased with you. Therefore, so you understand this, you go and serve your people, but that will be very pleasing to Krishna, means then there's no direct devotional service here. Then how is it that, Krishna will be pleased with? So that is the point that, you see all these great kings who have been discussed in the Bhagavatam, while they are pure devotees, they are meditating on the Supreme Lord 24/7. They are also doing his service. That is more important. So here, these kings are great devotees. They are doing the service of propagating or helping all the souls. There are millions and trillions of souls in this world, and everybody has come here and suffering. And the Lord desires everybody go back to God. Right? Why are my children suffering here? And this king's duty is therefore is actually to cultivate, to refine the prajas. Prajas means the citizens of the world, and make them understand the objective of their life, why they have been given birth to this material world, and act as a representative of Krishna. That means giving them that knowledge that, Baba, you are not here to simply do material sense gratification. That is your undoing. This place is Ashashvatam and Dukkalayam, and your job is to go back to Godhead. And I know you are already disturbed, and therefore you are thinking enjoyment is the thing of life. So while that is facilitated, but slowly but surely you will be given this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, and steadily you will progress towards that end. It is not like artificially thrusting something upon someone, right? It doesn't work like that. Even children we cannot control. You can't make them sit in one place simply by taking a stick in your hand. They may sit, but their mind is not here. Therefore, Krishna does not want to forcibly push people to the, deprive them of their desires and then, beat them up and say, no, rascal, you cannot be like this. You come back to my spiritual world. No. Krishna is very merciful. Okay, if that is what is your desire, go. But by experience, by maturity, we come to that realization, no, this is all nonsense. I've been wasting my time. My desire seems to be pulling me further and further into sucking me into this messy situation. And with that realization, we, with our own, what do you call, sweet will, we go back to Godhead. And that is the pure love that we start showing to the Lord, and the Lord reciprocates that way. Up to that, there's no force. But this king's job is to facilitate that process, how to refine, just like when we go into the jail. In the jail, it's not like, okay, you are punished, okay, fine, you remain there locked up in the room. No, if you look at the jail authorities, they will give many kinds of activities for them, which will sort of refine their mind. They will engage them in various services, put them in some, give them many classes. I once was in one of the local police stations. Those guys were saying, yes, these fellows needs to be given some Bhagavatam and all that also. Like, the prisoners, I was seeing some young boys there, like, should look at them, you can clearly say very disturbed boys there. But then they were saying, yes, that is important like this. So this is, and for that, these jail authorities actually have some programs. They will call many people to give them talks. There is morality, so many things they will do. Like this, the king's job in this material world is actually to take the citizens, refine their life, help them emotional life.
చెప్పు నాయనా.
So let's look at the next one. I have covered, all the explanations in the next 1 or 2 verses already. I will read only the translation. O king, if you can give proper protection to the living beings in the material world, that will be the best service for me. When the Supreme Lord sees you to be good protector of the conditioned soul, certainly the master of the senses will be very pleased with you. So that we read. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana, Lord Krishna, is the form to accept all the results of sacrifice. If he is not satisfied, then one's labor for advancement is futile. He is the ultimate self, and therefore one who does not satisfy him certainly neglects his own interest. So this is important. Why I should do? Why are the king having to push me into doing this varnashrama dharma? No, so there it is, we are working against our own interest by doing that, but we don't realize that. But the give protection means what? So protection means it is not only for the physical body. He has to give protection to the soul. And Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. That means the little progress in this path will protect you from the greatest danger. It is mentioned. What is that little progress? It is not about only the bodily shelter. If the soul is given all bodily shelter, everything nicely, but if he is not given Krishna consciousness, then in the next birth, that person will become an animal. Now, that is not giving good protection from the king's point of view, right? He should help that person elevate. And therefore, it is mentioned, his real interest is to progress from this human body to higher consciousness, not lower consciousness. And therefore, it becomes a primary responsibility of the king. But if you are only looking at the physical body and everything, that is not very intelligent, like how Prabhupada says. That is not intelligent thinking, Prabhupada will say like that. So that is important. Intelligence means understanding holistically, not simply the body, the consciousness and the soul within that is also important. And here it is addressing that aspect of it. How, the various layers of the sense enjoyment we are thinking, but above the senses there is mind, and above the mind there is this intelligence, and above the intelligence there is this soul, and above the soul there is super soul, and above the super soul is Krishna. Therefore, your original interest is actually to reach there, not only at the level of the body, the senses, because so many layers above, and we need to address all the layers above. And that is our real interest, is what has been described by Prabhupada in this verse. Next one. Sri Manu said, O powerful Lord, O killer of all sins, I shall abide by your order. Now please let me know my place and that of the living entities born of me. So after hearing the instructions, what he should do, he's asking, okay, very fine. I will do what you are saying. Now where should I begin? Which is the place where I should go and begin? So, you are giving one responsibility, right? You are given a specific office. You are given your zone, like when you become a chief minister, okay, you are now in charge of the state, like that. So like that, he's asking, give me my area of work. In corporate world, give me my key responsibilities and give me my, the whatever space I need to work on. That he's asking. And while saying all these things comes the other aspect where he's saying, O master of the demigods, please attempt to lift the earth, which is merged in the great water, because it is the dwelling place of all the living entity. It can be done by your endeavor and by the mercy of the Lord. So in the process of that discussion, suddenly Manu seeing earth is actually gone down into the water. This water means it's not our Pacific Ocean. It is Garbhodaka soil, Garbhodaka ocean. That means, if you see this entire universe, half of it is filled with this Garbhodaka ocean, and above that is these different 7 planetary systems. So this Earth planet has actually gone down and fallen into the ocean, this Garbhodaka ocean. And then Maitreya is saying, now Sri Maitreya said, thus seeing the earth merged in the water, Brahma gave his attention for a long time to how it could be lifted. So now here the topic of this appearance of Varaha Deva is coming up. Now here Prabhupada is commenting that if you see here, this particular description here will not include about the skilling of this Hiranyaksha and all that, as we see. So that the clarification is, there is just one verse which talks about a demon being killed. That you will see in the next Saturday. I will not be touching upon that. But what here it is mentioned is, according to Jiva Goswami, the topics delineated here are of different millenniums. The present topic are of the Sweta Varaha millennium, and topics regarding the Chakshusha millennium will also be described in this chapter. That means Varaha, they appeared in different millenniums. Like we can see, right, the Lord keeps appearing again and again in different planetary systems in different yugas. So Varaha Deva has appeared 100 million times in different millenniums. So here 2 millenniums have been described, and while the speaker will actually be mixing both, that Prabhupada is explaining even before, because sometimes we may get confused. So here this millennium is about Sweta Varaha millennium, and there is another time where the Chakshusha millennium also happened. There also Varaha appeared. And I think the color also were different in both the occasions. One is, to my mind, is red, and one I think is golden or some other color. White. So there are 2 Varaha forms. One is gold, the red one, and the other one is the white. I think this one refers to the red bodily incarnation, red color incarnation of Varahadev. Then Brahma thought, while I have been engaged in the process of creation, the earth has been inundated by a deluge and has gone down into the depth of the ocean. What can we do who are engaged in the matter of creation? It is best to let the Almighty Lord direct us. So Brahma, such a great personality, he is also depending on Krishna. That we need to understand. So sometimes during our work, it is also, Prabhupada says, we are perturbed. Something happens which is like uncomfortable for us to handle. But if you see how a materialistic man will work versus how a devotee will work, Prabhupada is trying to distinguish that. Here he says, the devotees of the Lord who are all confidential servitors are sometimes perplexed in the discharge of their respective duties, but they are never discouraged. They have full faith in the Lord, and he paves the way for the smooth progress of the devotee's duty. So this is very, very important. Take the example of Srila Prabhupada. We have seen in that Prabhupada movie also, Prabhupada says, many times I felt, whether it will work or not in this America, initially that first 1 year. But he said, but I never lost my faith in the holy name. So he used to say, he even said, I many times walked towards the port that, I'll go back to India. But then he never really remained in that mood. He said, no, I have faith in the holy name and it will happen. So here Brahma also suddenly, such a huge creation of the earth falls down into the ocean. He doesn't know how to handle it. But he is believing, no, the Lord will help in this. It is better for the Lord to surrender to the Lord and seek his guidance. Like that he is thinking. At that point in time, oh sinless Vidura, all of a sudden, while Brahma was engaged in thinking, a small form of a boar came out of his nostril. The measurement of the creature was not more than the upper portion of a thumb. So suddenly, even as he is thinking, from his nose, one personality suddenly came out, and he was such a small personality, not even the size of the thumb. So that is being described here. O descendant of Bharata, while Brahma was observing him, that boar became situated in the sky in a wonderful manifestation as a gigantic manifestation as gigantic as a great elephant. That small thumb, less than a thumb size creature suddenly became very big. Struck with wonder at observing the wonderful boar-like form in the sky, Brahma, with a great Brahmana like Marichi as well as the Kumaras and Manu, began to argue in various ways. Suddenly they say this creature, and Brahma has not seen a boar before. That means he has not created possibly the boar before that, and he has not seen a form like this at all. Very surprised. So they are all asking, hey, who this person is? That discussion is happening. Suddenly someone comes out of the nose. That's always bound to be discussion. Who could this be and all that? And how did they conclude quickly, that we can see. Is this some extraordinary entity come in the presence of a boar? Is this some extraordinary entity come in the pretense of a boar? it is very wonderful that he has come from my nose. So Brahma is very happy. First of all, this boar was seen no bigger than the tip of a thumb, and within a moment, he was as large as a stone. My mind is perturbed. You see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, so immediately he is able to relate, oh, this cannot be any ordinary person. This has got to be Lord Vishnu himself. Brahma is coming to that conclusion. While Brahma was deliberating with his sons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, roared tempestuously like a great mountain. So it's mentioned, Prabhupada is writing, mountains also roar. So I don't know if someone of us are into hiking and all that, we may have our Himalayas and maybe there is some kind of a roar which is there. He says, from this only the mountains, like they are also living entities and they also roar. And he says, the bigger the body, the bigger is the roar. So that roar is there. Then the omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated Brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all directions. And Brahma is here, Prabhupada saying, actually, Lord Vishnu is actually acknowledging Brahma. Yes, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By this roar, he is actually thinking. And the other thing is, when you hear such a huge creature just making that sound, I don't know if any of you would have gone to a zoo or somewhere and heard a lion roar. It will be chilling to the back, the kind of sound that comes. I have heard these things. When I was small, I have gone to this zoo and all. That sound will be like, amazing, just a lion. But think of here Vishnu in a big boar, like a mountain he is, and if he's roaring, but generally it should give us fear. But all these devotees actually did not feel fear, they felt bliss. That is something which is also explained. You remember that Bhagavad Gita, where when Krishna blows his conch, everybody is fearing from the Kaurava side. But from the Pandava side, it gives so much of joy for the devotees. So that's the distinction between whether we are a demon or we are, a demigod. That means how you are able to anukulyena Krishna, how you are actually receiving Krishna, how it appears to your mind. Is it looking very pleasant or is it looking very bad in our mind? Then we can understand whether I am demon or I am, little godly character is there. When the great sages and thinkers who are residents of Janaloka, Tapaloka and Satyaloka heard the tumultuous voice of Lord Boar, which was the all-auspicious sound of the all-merciful Lord, they chanted auspicious chants from the three Vedas. So they understood immediately this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and started singing all the Vedas and Purusha Sukta like that very nicely. So with that, I am ending this 25th verse. So right now we have seen the discussion between Brahma and his son Swayambhuva Manu, and how Swayambhuva Manu very obediently went and took instructions from Brahma, and how Brahma very nicely instructed how a king has to rule or how a father has to be. All of those things are there, and what is the purpose of our existence. And subsequently, we also understood that while they were discussing that, the earth planet went down into the water. And then when Brahma was thinking about how to save it, and he was depending on the Lord appeared in the form of the boar from his nose. And the devotees, all the three lokas above, they are all actually the planets which are resided by great devotees. They are not the bottom worlds because they are all sunk. But the one which they are there, they are not sunk in the water. And there all the great personalities are there. And they are all immediately able to understand that it is the Lord. And they are offering very nice prayers. So I end here. It is 7:39. And, the mood of all the devotees we saw, the mood of Brahma, the mood of Swayambhuva Manu, the mood of all the beings in the Tapaloka, Janaloka, all these wonderful planetary system. That mood is that of service, right? We described that here. Now, today, let us, as part of our ongoing discussions on the 9 processes of devotional service, I have been asked to speak on the mood of what do you call hearing, chanting, like that. This one is seva. That means how do you perform devotional service in the service attitude. The example or the manifestation of that is Lord Hanuman, right? Hanuman is personification of the mood of dasya, right? Dasya, that is the process we are discussing. This dasya is the mood of service. So one small thing I would like to share here. So we all have our specific relationship with the Lord, right? We know this primary relationship with the Lord, which is basically you are maybe in Vatsalya, or you may be in the mood of Sakya, or you may be in the mood of conjugal love, or you may be in the mood of Dasya. That means our original constitutional position is there. That, we don't know right now what mood it is. We are all having that particular mood. Like some people will have Vatsalya. That means they will have that mood of like the parent to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like Devaki is there, then Yashoda Mai is there, Nanda Baba is there. So their mode is Vatsalya. While if you want Sakya, then there is Arjuna, right? So like this, each one of us, Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita in the beginning that, we have all of these different relationship, and we do not know what relationship we are in. When we say, you go and your ultimate objective is to be fixed in your constitutional position, that constitutional position has one of these relationships. Sometimes it may be a neutral relationship. And if it's a neutral relationship, we may be a tree or something in the spiritual world. But if you are in Sakya, you may be like one of the Gopas. Or if you are in that Madhurya, then, there will be a conjugal relationships like of the younger gopis, like that. Or if you are in the like Madhurya, if you are in Vatsalya, then maybe the elder gopis or like Mother Yashoda, like this. So different characteristics. But right now, I don't know what relationship I have with the Lord. Therefore, should I start acting like one? If you see, there are many bogus personalities. They will dress up like women and they say, no, I am Radha, and then they will dance like they are acting with Krishna and all the Sagajiyas, Prabhupada calls them. So like that, we may also think, I am friend of Krishna, we may talk in a manner that, in our mind, we think we are Krishna's friend, put ourselves in the place of Arjuna. All this is not recommended. Till such time, we know that elevation process is there. How by hearing, then you chanting, then association of devotees, then anartha nivritti. So this process, bhava, it goes on. And finally, you come to this point of pure love of Godhead. At that point in time, Krishna will reveal what is our real nature. So once we start knowing, then Prabhupada recommends, then you start taking the example of the devotee who represents that bhava, and then, like, for example, if someone comes to that stage and he realizes I am in Vatsalya bhava, then from then on, that person's focus should be on how Mother Yashoda dealt with Krishna. So there, just like we do a master's degree and all, no, you specialize in one subject. After that point in time, they specialized in Vatsalya, pastimes of the Lord only, right? That because they take that inspiration from Mother Yashoda, because she is the topmost. Now we are in Damodar month, we remember Mother Yashoda. And she actually is the perfection of how a mother, one in Vatsalya Rasa. So that happens nicely like that. And in that sense, when we talk about all of us, when we are in our normal, what we call is sadhana bhakti, we should all be in this mood of servitude, dasya. We start with dasya, and once our actual swarupa is revealed, we go to the specific bhava, and this dasya therefore is very, very important. Every one of us, at least I am saying for myself, I should be in the mood of dasya. And dasya example is perfection is Hanuman, right? How he served Lord Hanuman so nicely that nobody can ever serve the Lord like that Hanuman. So much that when Krishna appeared in front of him, also he said, I'm not able to think of you in this form. I can think of you in the form of Lord Rama only, right? We saw this pastime in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Hanuman also incarnates, and then Lord Chaitanya plays with him to say, now you should forget Lord Rama. Now you should think of Lord Krishna only. And I forget the name of the devotee. Murari Gupta. So he he was perturbed. How can I think of Krishna? How I can forget Rama? So he says, I would rather commit suicide. How I can disobey Mahaprabhu because he is giving instruction, but I am not able to follow because my heart is fully given to Lord Rama. Then he says, that's okay. You follow. He is very playful, Mahaprabhu. The next day he says, no, that's okay. You follow Lord Rama like this. So that is this mood of Dasya, serving Lord Rama. So this mood is very important, and we should all serve the Lord in that mood of Dasya when we are in our sadhana bhakti. If we reached our bhava, the perfection stage, then we take to our different, what is our original relationship with Krishna. So I end here. We are at 7:46. The next 10 minutes or so, we will have the next next aspect of this particular program.